Hi everyone, my name is Mr. Entau and I'm going to be teaching you a whole unit about the fascinating country of Brazil. So we're going to be doing some geography. So let's get started. So today we're going to be looking at where Brazil is in the world. And we're going to be looking at some of the different geographical features that we can also find in Brazil. So the whole lesson is going to be looking a little bit like this. First of all, we're going to have a look at the 7 continents of the world and see if we can name them all. Then we're going to locate Brazil. We're going to find Brazil on our world map. And then we're going to be looking at the physical features and the human features we can find in the country of Brazil. And then you're going to think about the physical and human features that you might find in your local area. So before we begin our lesson today, you're going to need these things if possible. You're going to need some paper, a pencil. You're going to need your brain as well. Most importantly, you're definitely going to need your big geography brain. So if you're missing any of those things, then you can pause the video now and go and get them. Okay, so we're ready to begin. So my first challenge for you guys is to see if you can name all 7 continents of the world. So you can see a map of the world with all the continents in different colors. And I wonder if you can remember the name of all 7. I want you to have a think, and if you want, you can write them down if you can remember the names of them. So pause the video now and see if you can write down or say some of those continents that are shown. Off you go. Okay, let's see if you got any of those correct. Let's have a look at what some of those are. So first of all, I'm going to start off with the big yellow continent on the left-hand side, and that is North America. Well done if you got that one. Then we have Africa, the orange one in the middle there, Africa. Next one is Asia. Well done, that one was Asia. Well done if you got that one. Then we have Australia down there in the corner, also known as Australasia or Oceania. Next we have Antarctica, right in the very south of our planet, Antarctica. And next is Europe. And Europe is where we have the UK, that's where we live. And then we've got South America. Well done if you got any of those right. We'll be practicing some of these over the next course of the next few lessons. So try and remember these ones and we'll see if you can remember some more next time. Now today we're going to focus on the continent of South America, because South America is where we can find Brazil, which is the country we are focusing on in this topic. So South America is a huge continent and it's made up of 12 different countries. So there are 12 different countries in South America, and I wonder if you've heard of South America before. And have you heard of any countries that are in South America? So we already know that Brazil is going to be in there, but I want you to have a think to see if you can remember any other countries that will be in South America. You can pause the video, have a think, and we'll be back in a second. Okay, let's see how many of those countries you could remember. So remember there are 12 different ones. Let's see what there is. So here we go. First one, Argentina. Next one is Chile. North of Argentina we have Uruguay, then Paraguay. Over to the west we have Bolivia. Then we have Peru. Over to the east we have Brazil, and this is the one that we're going to focus on this unit, that big country there. Then above we have Ecuador, followed by Colombia. Then we have French Guiana, and this is a territory of France. So that means it's a part of France, even though France is all the way in Europe. So it's not a country by itself, it's a part of France. Then we have Suriname. And finally, Venezuela, and I think there's one more, which is Guyana. So those are all the countries in South America, but we're just going to focus on one of those, which is Brazil. Now, Brazil is really huge. It's the 5th largest country in the whole world. And it's a very diverse country. That means there are lots of different places with different landscapes, different places where people live. So it's a fascinating country. It borders with 10 other countries in South America because it's so huge and it takes up a lot of the continent. And there are many different landscapes and different types of human settlement within Brazil. And we're going to look at some of those in our geography unit. So when we think about geography of a country, we can divide it into physical features and human features. And if we're going to have a little look at what we mean by those, we're going to have a little look at those two terms today. So if you look at the green box, our physical geographical features are things that occur naturally on the landscape of the Earth. So things that aren't made by humans, they're just there because they're a natural part of the Earth. So examples are mountains, lakes, beaches, and rainforests. So they're things that aren't made by humans. They're things that are natural on the Earth. So they are called physical features. Then if you look at the pink box, our human geographical features are things related to the behavior of humans. So they might be built or created by humans or used by humans. So for example, cities and villages, shops, factories, and schools are all examples of human geographical features. And we're going to look at some of the physical and some of the human features that we can find in the country of Brazil. So let's start off by looking at the different physical features that we can find in Brazil. Now, Brazil's a huge country with lots of different features. So we're just going to look at some of them today. First, we have the Amazon rainforest, which I haven't mentioned yet, but it's a huge part of Brazil. And it's going to be an area that we focus on later in this topic. The Amazon rainforest is the largest tropical rainforest in the whole world. And rainforests have a very warm and a very wet climate. And that means that lots of different plants and animals can grow and survive there. And actually, 1 in 10 animal species on the whole planet lives in the Amazon rainforest. So there are lots of different animals that live there. And the majority of the rainforest is found in Brazil, but it's so big that it stretches even into other countries in South America. And throughout the rainforest, as you can see in this picture, the Amazon River winds its way through it. And it's a really long river, the 2nd longest river in the world. It's actually 6,840 kilometers long. That is a long river. Now, the Amazon rainforest is really important, not only in South America, but for the whole world, because it's often referred to as the lungs of the earth. Now, we know that lungs help us to breathe in our body, and the Amazon rainforest actually helps humans to breathe on Earth because the trees trap the carbon and they release oxygen, which helps keep the whole planet healthy. So it's a really important part, not only in South America, but for all life on our planet. So that's one physical feature that we can find in Brazil. Now, the next one we're going to look at is called, I hope I've got this right, Pico de Neblina. And it's the highest peak in Brazil. And it's 2,994 meters tall. That's really tall. It's higher than any mountain here in the UK. And you can see that it's in the northwest of Brazil, on the border of Venezuela. And its name, Pico de Neblina, means the foggy mountain or the mountain in the clouds. And that's because it's so high that often the top of the mountain is Yep, you've guessed it. It's within the clouds in the sky. So we've looked at the rainforest, we've looked at a mountain. What's next? Another physical feature we can find in Brazil is the Iguaçu Falls. I hope I've got that pronunciation right. Now, the Iguaçu Falls are lots of waterfalls that are really, really huge. And they're in the south of Brazil on the border with Argentina. So there are lots of rivers that run through Brazil, and the Iguaçu River is the one that creates these waterfalls. So part of the river, as it flows over the rocks, crashes down as a waterfall. And these are the largest system of waterfalls in the whole world. So I'd imagine, I've never been there, but I'd imagine they're a really amazing place to visit. So we've looked at the waterfalls, we've looked at a rainforest, we've looked at a mountain. Another really important physical feature of Brazil is the coastal plains or the beaches. So Brazil has one of the longest coastlines in the world, and it's on the east of the country and on the east of the continent of South America. And the coastline of Brazil runs for 7,400 kilometers. So it's a really, really long coastline. Now it's very, very well known, and Brazil is well known for its white sandy beaches and very warm climate. So it's a great place to go and swim in the sea or to relax on the beach. Looks very nice there. It's very popular with tourists and people visiting Brazil. So now we thought about different physical features we can find in Brazil, like the beaches, like the waterfalls, the mountains and the rainforest. I want you guys to think about the place where you live. And I want you to think about the different physical features that you can find in your local area. They might be similar to the ones in Brazil, or they might be different. So I want you to write a sentence that looks like this. So I live in, so you would say Upton or Dorset. Some physical features in my area are, and then you can have a think about what they're going to be. So for example, I live in Dorset, and some physical features in my area are Ringwood Forest with lots of trees, and Durdle Door, which is a door-shaped rock in the sea. So those are two things that are natural features of the landscape and not created by humans. So they are physical features where I live in Dorset. So I want you to think about the place where you live, and I'd like you to write a sentence about the physical features you can find in your area. So pause video now and have a go. Okay, fantastic work, everybody. So let's move on. Now we're going to move on to the other type of geographical feature, which are different. They are human features. So we're going to look for different human features in Brazil to start with. Now, Brazil is a really big country, as we know, and it has a really big population. That means lots of people live there. And actually, the population of Brazil is over 212 million people, which is really, really high. The main language spoken across Brazil is Portuguese, and people in Brazil live in lots of different types of settlements. They range from huge urban cities to smaller rural towns or villages. So just like here in the UK, people live in lots of different places. Now, one place where lots of people live in Brazil is the capital city, and the capital city is called Brasilia. Can you say that for me? Brasilia. And it's found in central Brazil. It has a population of 2.48 million people. So lots of people live in the city. And there are lots of human features within the city, like houses, like roads and factories and offices. There are also modern buildings like the one you can see on the right-hand side here, which is called the Cathedral Metropolitana, I think I've got that pronounced right, which is the cathedral, the main cathedral in the city of Brasilia. Now that's one example of some human features we can find in Brazil. So let's have a look in another big city. Another big and famous city in Brazil is called Rio de Janeiro, and it's the second largest city in Brazil with over 13 million people that live there. So that's a lot of people, even more than the capital city. And there were, again, lots of different human features there, like different types of houses, hotels, offices, and restaurants. And it also has physical features within the city, like Sugarloaf Mountain, which is a tall mountain. And you can see in the picture, Copacabana Beach just there, just winding round in front of the mountain. So we're going to look at those features in depth, and another one of those in one of our Brazil lessons coming up later. Now, there are some smaller cities and towns within Brazil. For example, Salvador. Salvador is one of the smallest cities in Brazil. It's one of the smaller ones. So there are less tall, high-rise skyscraper buildings like there are in Rio or in Brasilia. Salvador is found on the coast, as you can see. So it's a really important place for its port and for trades like fishing. So there are lots of different types of houses, and you can see from the pictures that they look slightly different to the other cities as well. And then some people in Brazil live in even smaller places. So they might live in rural villages, which means villages that are in the countryside. For example, in the Amazon rainforest, there are lots of villages where different people live. Like you can see in the picture on your screen, or villages within the hills, or the countrysides, like you can see on the right-hand side of your screen. So there are lots of really different places within the country of Brazil where people live, and lots of different human features within those cities, towns, and villages. So now you're going to come back to where you live, thinking again about the area where you live within the UK and what different human features you can find in your area. So again, you're going to make me some sentences if you can, but now thinking about human features you can find. So things that are made or used by humans. For example, I live in Dorset, and some human features in my area are things like shops, restaurants, and schools. So those are different human features that I can find. Remember, these things are made by humans. So pause the video now and write some sentences about the human features in your area. Have a go. Well done, everybody. I'm sure you came up with some fantastic sentences. So now we've thought about the physical features and the human features that can be found in both Brazil and in our local area in the UK. Now we're going to finish with a quick quiz to see if you can remember some of the things that we've learnt today. So let's have a look at some of these questions. So we've got a one chilly question. Which continent is Brazil on? Is it North America, Europe, South America, or Asia? Two chilly question. Which is the main language spoken in Brazil? Is it Portuguese, Spanish, French, or English? And the last question, three chilly question. What is a physical geographical feature? Is it something made by humans? Is it a place where animals live? Is it a place for tourists to visit? So let's have a look, see if we can come up with these answers. So number one, which continent is Brazil on? Let's have a look. Did you get it? Yes, well done if you got that one. Hang on a minute. Chantal trying to catch you out there. South America. Let's get that one changed. Okay, well done. That one was South America. Let's see. Number two. What is the main language spoken in Brazil? Was it Portuguese, Spanish, French, or English? Let's have a look. Portuguese. Well done if you got that one. Portuguese. Let's move that one back down again. And the last one, number three, what is a physical geographical feature? Is it something made by humans, a place where animals live, or a place for tourists to visit? Let's have a look. Well done. It's something made by humans. So physical geographical feature is something made by humans. And let's move the continent is definitely in South America. So let's make sure we get that one right. Okay, so that's the end of our lesson for today. You've done amazingly well. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about Brazil. We're going to carry on learning more about this amazing country in our next geography lessons. Now, if you've enjoyed our lesson today and you've been really proud of the work that you've done, you might want to share it with your class teacher on email. We'd love to see all of your amazing work. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time for more of the geography of Brazil. Bye.